Dude, Taylor's parents left her alone for the week while they're on vacation. Why don't our parents do that? My little sister Natalie jokingly asked me as we sat at our kitchen table doing homework. That'd be awesome, I agreed. Too bad they never do that. Taylor said she's tired of making food for herself, Natalie laughed. Her mom left her a gift card to Chipotle if she can find someone to drive her there. Considering Chipotle was one of my favorite restaurants, I saw my opportunity. I'll pick her up if she buys my dinner, I offered. I was only half kidding. Wait, really? Natalie asked. Let me tell her. Shortly after me making this offer, we were out the door on our way to pick up Natalie's friend and grab dinner. Once we sat down with our food, Taylor, Natalie, and I fell into the usual routine of gossiping about school, boys, and whatever else came to mind. The conversation this particular night revolved around their good friend Dylan. Natalie was concerned because Dylan told her that he had feelings for her and she didn't feel the same way. She needed mine and Taylor's opinions as to how she should handle the situation. I feel bad, Natalie said, but I don't think about him that way. Dylan being Natalie's good friend, she wanted to be honest about her feelings without losing his friendship. She explained to us what she told him and how she was trying her best to let him down easy. The following day was Friday the 13th, and the first thing I remember from school that day was that I saw Natalie in the hallway in between 4th and 5th period. We started walking and talking, and Natalie very energetically asked me if I had heard about the accident that happened outside of our school. Seeing my confusion, she explained that a person was hit by a car on Route 30, the busy road that ran in front of our school. I was thrown off because that was the first I had heard of any event like that, and naturally, I started asking dozens of questions. How did you hear about that? I asked. It just happened last hour. People in the classes saw it happen. Was it a student? I was beginning to feel panicked. They're not sure, Natalie answered. Who was it? Are they okay? I insisted. No one's sure, she answered. I heard it was a girl, and either a sophomore or junior, but that could be wrong. That's just what I heard. At this time, I was a senior in high school, so I was slightly relieved to know that the rumor wasn't that it was someone in my grade, though I knew many juniors and Natalie was a sophomore, so I was concerned for her. Why weren't they in school? I continued. I don't really know much about it, but I have to get to class. I'll let you know what I hear, Natalie said and turned to leave. When I arrived in my next class, lo and behold, everyone was buzzing with this news that someone was hit outside of our school, and that didn't help the anxiety that was building inside of me. I turned to a classmate and asked how they found out about it. They replied that they heard it by word of mouth, but that the New Lenox newspaper had already released an online article about it. I quickly pulled out my phone and looked up the article. I didn't find much relief in doing so, however, because it simply stated that someone was hit by a semi and they could not yet release the individual's identity or if they were a student at our high school. This made me even more anxious because I was looking for peace of mind that the person was okay, or that it at least wasn't someone I knew, as bad as that sounds. I knew no one could give me those answers. After I put my phone away, my teacher walked into the room and tried to quiet us down, so I tried my best to focus on getting through the class and being patient and waiting for more information about the accident. After 5th period, I headed to lunch. Again, I was faced with most of the students gossiping about the events that had occurred that day. I was asking everyone I knew if they had any additional information. It was then that my friend Amber said, I heard it was Dylan Wishover. My heart dropped. I was absolutely shocked. What did you say? I asked her, hoping more than anything that I heard her wrong. I heard someone say it was Dylan, but they could be wrong. God, I hope it wasn't him. That's my sister's best friend, I said. I tried to get myself to calm down, to get my heart rate back to normal, and to get my hands to stop shaking. I told myself that Amber could be wrong, and that she heard was just a rumor. In the back of my mind, though, I knew this effort was futile. I couldn't fake casual conversation or even finish my lunch while thinking that Dylan could have been the one in the accident. At the end of lunch, Amber pulled out her phone and said, almost too casually, yeah, it was Dylan. His aunt posted something on his Facebook wall. My heart started racing, and I immediately started bawling, unable to control the feelings that washed over me. The bell then rang to mark the end of lunch, and I just remember repeating to another friend, Delaney, that I needed to find my sister. I felt absolutely defeated. I couldn't protect my sister from being hurt, and that was the worst feeling. I needed to know if she already knew it was him, and I wanted to be the one to tell her if she didn't. I was immediately frustrated because I didn't know Natalie's schedule or where I could find her at that time. Delaney walked me to the bathroom, and I tried my best to regain my composure, knowing that I had to somehow get back to class. Go ahead, I told her. I'll meet you in advisory. Once Delaney left, I could not get myself to calm down, so knowing I couldn't return to class at the time, I went to the counselor's office. When I walked in, there were counselors everywhere, and I realized that they had brought in counselors from other schools once they knew it was a student who had passed away. The secretary asked me if I had an appointment, and I turned and looked at her, still crying, as I said, I just need to talk to someone. Understanding what I meant, she told me to go into the first room. I was faced with a counselor from another high school in our district and managed to squeak out, Dylan was my sister's good friend. Saying this out loud made me realize how selfish I was being. I was reacting this way, crying and seeking help, and he wasn't even my personal friend. Realizing that the counselor's time would be better spent on my sister, I gave him her name, collected myself the best that I could, and went back to class. Honestly, the rest of the day is a blur. I only remember thinking how much I needed to see Natalie. I didn't really talk to anyone, and there was no way I was paying any attention in class. I only had an hour and a half between the time I found out and the end of the day, and that hour seemed to drag on forever. When the final bell eventually rang, I walked as fast as I could to my locker, grabbed my stuff, and told the girl that drove me home that I was going to find Natalie, and turned away without explanation to start looking for her. I called her to find out where she was, and when she didn't answer, I texted some of her friends and teammates, knowing that she had a game after school, and hoping they'd know where she was. I don't remember how, but I found out she was in the field house, and I walked there as fast as I could. When I got there, she was crying in her friend's arms, both of them needing the comfort and support of the other. This sight broke my heart. How can I even begin to comfort her? The thought of not being able to console someone who meant so much to me scared me. Nevertheless, I knew I had to try, so I walked up to her and gave her the biggest hug I could muster. We cried together as the sadness surrounded us. The whole situation was absolutely unbearable, as Dylan was the kind of person who touched the hearts of everyone he met. When we finally separated, I asked Natalie if she would rather go home than stay for her game. However, we both agreed that it might help to go to the game, so that she could at least attempt to distract herself from the events of this Friday the 13th. As Natalie returned to the comfort of her friends and teammates, I called my mom to give her a heads up as to what happened during the day. I didn't want Natalie to have to explain it to her, and I wanted my mom to know just how distraught Nat was, and warn her that she might not be okay for a while. The week following Dylan's death was just one surreal event after another. Over the weekend, many of his friends and classmates posted on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram promoting wearing the color blue or a flannel or camo pattern to school on Monday. Unfortunately, our school had faced the death of a student before, and in those cases, many students would wear the person's favorite color on the next school day, and with Dylan, it was no different. Walking through the halls that Monday, I couldn't believe the amount of support shown among students of all ages. One group of students even made sweatshirts in memory of him. One event that sticks out in my mind was when a detective came to my house to question Natalie. It was so strange having him there, considering my family is not the type to be in trouble with the law, so I had never seen anyone in my family sit down and talk to an officer. He was asking her questions about Dylan's mental state at the time of the accident, and told my sister that they needed her opinion because they were trying to rule out his death being a suicide. That was something no one in his family had even considered, knowing how happy and outgoing Dylan was. Eventually, it was officially ruled as an accident because no one, not even Dylan's parents, could give evidence for a suicide. It was amazing to see the community come together in this time of tragedy. Flowers were left at the corner where the accident occurred, and a balloon release was held in Dylan's memory. At school, a teacher had bracelets made that read "Remembering Dylan Wishover," and passed them out to the students. Also, a table in our courtyard was dedicated to Dylan. On a personal level, the events of this Friday the 13th have brought Natalie and I closer than ever. I'm lucky to have a sister who's also my best friend. Even though Dylan wasn't my personal friend, the profound effect he had on my sister touched my heart. And this day will be in my memory forever, just like the memory of his beautiful life.